Question: do you really want to keep following a diet that's super restrictive and that does absolutely nothing to help your kidneys? No? Well then, what's the alternative? Here's the truth. There are 7 incredibly healthy foods that, for the right patient, can transform your diet and improve your kidney health. The kicker: most people think they have to avoid these foods entirely. Today I'm going to show you how to use them to make your diet not only easier to follow, but also a powerful tool to boost your kidney health. Catherine here, I'm a doctor of natural medicine, and I want to kick off this video with some fantastic news. It's a fact that in many cases, the progression of kidney disease can be reversed with the right renal diet. Take a look at this case study on screen. A 62-year-old patient went from a GFR of 31.7 to 66 in just 9 weeks. That's a 78% improvement. Guys, and this man was teetering on the edge of stage 4 CKD before the intervention. But after just 9 weeks of following his new diet, his GFR shot back up to 66, which is in the normal range. And do you know what surprised him the most? He couldn't believe how many foods he was able to enjoy, foods he thought were permanently banned. So, with a better understanding of the renal diet and access to the right information, this patient made an incredible transformation. He went from stage 4 to stage 2 in just 9 weeks, all while following a diet that was both effective and enjoyable. Yes, despite what some people want you to believe, not every food on the grocery store shelf is a kidney's worst enemy. So let's see immediately what 7 of the healthiest banned foods are, starting with our number 7. This is a food that makes some of my patients' jaws drop faster than a smartphone without a case when I tell them, yeah, go ahead, you can totally eat whole wheat bread. Now guys, I live in a country where bread is practically a religion, Italy. But even here, many CKD patients are still being told to avoid any kind of bread like it's the sequel to a bad horror movie.
Well, anyway, you can't have it.
And I get it, you remove a big source of calories from someone's diet and they lose weight. And of course, people with diabetes are always told to avoid bread because, carbs have become the dietary equivalent of the boogeyman lurking in every pantry. But this was before, guys. Today, we know better, and whole wheat bread is not the scarecrow some people think it is. So imagine for a moment avoiding the universal staple food of many cuisines in the world, bread, just because of internet misinformation and lack of access to competent healthcare professionals. In fact, guys, if you ask anyone who started my very own renal diet, you will find whole wheat bread either in the eat in moderation section or even in the recommended section. Never in the completely avoid section. Let me say this again. Current medical literature and guidelines say no kidney disease patient should be completely forbidden from eating whole wheat bread. In fact, while whole wheat bread is a processed food, it is still made from whole grains, which means they are rich in the essential nutrient that's most beneficial for CKD patients, diabetic patients included. I'm talking about fiber, of course. Increased fiber intake is linked to a huge list of health benefits, including slowing down or even reversing the progression of kidney disease. Yeah, imagine being denied bread after reading this study. It's enough to make you want to stage a one-person protest in the bakery aisle. So, if you are a CKD patient and you do not have diabetes, nor you need to lose weight, make sure this staple food is present in your diet. And guys, I know that some diabetes patients prefer not to have bread at all, and that's fine. I have nothing against it. But don't think you must avoid bread. In fact, the goal of a diet for type 2 diabetes is not avoiding the rise in insulin level you get after a meal. That's a normal response of the body. The goal is to make you lose weight. And can you guess what foods are proven to make you lose weight? Yeah, whole grains and other fiber-rich foods. In short, stop being afraid of bread. Just make sure the whole wheat bread you buy is low in sodium and doesn't contain any added phosphorus. And of course, eat bread in moderation if you need to lose weight. Alright, let's tackle number 6, which is about the most universally beloved staple food on the planet. Rice, of course. Now, if you think it's tough telling an Italian to ditch bread, try telling someone from the Philippines or India to give up rice. It's just not going to happen. Seriously, if I had a penny for every time a patient asked me, "And now, what do I eat?" I'd own a private island shaped like a giant grain of rice. But here's the thing about rice. No, you don't have to give up rice. If a patient has diabetes, what I tell them is to replace white rice with a healthier option. Quinoa would be great here. Yes, that grain no one knows how to pronounce. It's quinoa, not quinoa. Also, farro, barley, or bulgur are fantastic choices. Some grocery stores even carry rice mixes where whole grain black, brown, and red rice party together in one bag. It's like a rice rainbow. And yes, you heard that right. Brown rice is also an option. And question, are these foods healthy? Answer, does a bear, well, you get the idea. Yes, science is crystal clear on this. Whole grains have a huge list of health benefits for people with CKD. They are very rich in vitamins, essential minerals, and most importantly in fiber. And fiber, as I was saying, is a must if your goal is not ending up in dialysis soon. Whole grains in general are also linked to improved metabolic parameters, improved glycemic control, improved lipid profile, and less inflammation. So if you have CKD, and your goal is to improve, having whole grains in your diet is a must. And I know what many diabetes patients are going to say now, but every time I eat whole grains, my blood sugar takes off like a racehorse out of the gate. Guys, it's not the food you eat that's the problem here. It's the quantity. Remember, if you eat a moderate amount of, let's say, brown rice with an abundant portion of vegetables and a source of healthy fats, everything is fine. But if your portion resembles Mount Everest on a plate, well, what do you expect? A miracle? In fact, just like for whole wheat bread, eating brown rice in moderation is linked to weight loss, which is the only cure for diabetes we know. Yes, the secret isn't in banning plants like they're evil. It's about balance. In short, whole grains are healthy for everyone, diabetes or not, as long as you are eating the right amount. Now, I'm well aware that each time I recommend foods with carbs, many people in the comment section react like I've suggested they juggle flaming torches. Half are furious because they have diabetes and think they can't eat them. The other half are mad because they don't have diabetes and want info that's relevant to them as well. Yes, guys, the diet for kidney disease is not the same for everyone. Telling everyone to avoid foods at random doesn't help. A personalized diet is what really works. This is why today, I'm offering a personalized renal diet to all the patients that do a first consultation with me. So if you are interested in starting a diet that's easy to follow, tested, and personalized for your very own needs, consider sending me an email to Catherine@newhopeforkidneypatients.com. I'm currently accepting new consultations, but slots are filling up quickly. Email me today and take the first step toward improving your kidney health together. I'll also include a link below in the description so you won't have trouble finding me. Keep in mind that with CKD, wait and see what happens is never the right approach. Okay guys, we have seen a couple of foods that have been banned for too long and without a real reason. Why not talk about the food now that the FDA nonetheless is trying to ban for the dumbest reason in the world? Our number 5 is, in fact, one of the healthiest spices you can find. This spice has anti-inflammatory properties so powerful it can even help with proteinuria. I'm talking about turmeric, of course. Now, turmeric is amazing. It is so healthy, I don't just recommend it to basically all my patients. I also add it in fairly large amounts to my meals. If turmeric were a person, I'd invite it to my birthday party. The reason? Curcumin. Curcumin in turmeric is actually one of the most powerful natural anti-inflammatories in existence. And trust me when I say this, CKD patients need natural anti-inflammatories like fish need water. You probably already know that NSAIDs are about as good for your kidneys as a lead balloon is for flying. And when you're in pain, your only choice is Tylenol. Don't get me wrong, Tylenol or acetaminophen is better than NSAIDs, but it's still associated with kidney damage. It's like choosing between a rock and a slightly softer rock. So, you have to be careful with it as well. Consuming curcumin regularly, on the other hand, is not just extremely efficient at pain relief in case of arthritis and other inflammatory conditions. It also has kidney protecting properties and fights proteinuria as well. It's like hitting two birds with one stone, except the birds are inflammation and kidney issues, and the stone is a golden spice. And do you want to know what's funny about turmeric? The fact that the FDA is still trying to actively ban it. Yes, I'm not joking. The FDA is really trying to ban curcumin. Yes, the same folks who approve artificial colors and flavors without batting an eye are giving turmeric the stink eye. So, a completely natural remedy that has the pain relieving effect and states, but that instead of damaging the kidneys, well, it protects them. Of course, they are trying to ban it. Now, to make things even more ridiculous, even the National Kidney Foundation is forbidding CKD patients from using turmeric because it has potassium in it. Yeah, they are still going by the old rule of being extremely terrified by dietary potassium, even though that rule was repealed years ago. This is still on their website in 2024. And this brings us to our next entry, number 4, bananas and other high potassium foods. Now guys, high potassium veggies and fruits are in general super healthy. A few examples include beets that lower blood pressure, spinach that are incredibly rich in iron and that fights anemia, avocados, the nature's multivitamin, kale, one of the healthiest grains out there. But also, the humble potato comes with health benefits, not to mention bananas, broccoli, carrots, and many more. And yet, every time I talk about high potassium foods, a lot of people in the comments are concerned. This is too high in potassium, they say. I have always been told to avoid potassium, they say, or even to completely stop eating potassium high foods. So who is right? People telling you to avoid high potassium foods like the plague, or me recommending you to eat them? Well, the answer is, it depends on your serum potassium levels, of course. You see, just like carbs, this is another very sensitive topic for some people, and you know, they have all the rights to be worried about potassium. In fact, if you have high potassium levels and you are not receiving the appropriate treatment from your doctor, well, your doctor is basically negating you any chance to get better. Let me explain. Today, doctors must lift the blanket ban on high potassium foods once and for all, says the rule book for the treatment for kidney disease. The reason, Well, it's the fact that eating bananas and avocados doesn't really rise your serum potassium levels. We know today that if you have high potassium levels, the most probable cause is one or more of the medications you take. For some patients, constipation could be a factor as well, or even suffering from metabolic acidosis. If your serum potassium is too high, talk to your doctor, find a solution. Remember, removing high potassium foods from your diet only works as a strategy to get you in dialysis quicker. What you want to do here is to talk to your doctor and get your blood pressure medication replaced with something that doesn't mess your potassium levels up. And as soon as your potassium goes back to normal, you will be able to eat some of the healthiest foods on earth again. Okay guys, this is a great news for everyone. If you have kidney disease, you must not follow a blanket ban on high potassium foods anymore. Foods including spinach, potatoes, tomatoes, broccoli, beets, avocados, and many more are back on the menu, which is great because most cases of people reversing kidney disease we see in medical literature happen when the patient is finally allowed to eat high potassium foods without limitations. Speaking of foods you can eat without limitations, let's talk about one of the healthiest foods you can find, and that was actually banned for one of the dumbest reasons ever. Our number 3 is bitter melon. Now, when it comes to bitter melon, I'm actually glad they are trying to ban it, so I have an excuse to talk about it. But who are they and what is the reason for the ban? So the recommendation to avoid bitter melon comes directly from the National Kidney Foundation, as you can see. And they are considered trustworthy enough that doctors are going to follow these recommendations, which is a problem because, well, at least in the case of bitter melon, these people from the AKF really don't know what they are talking about. So the reason why bitter melon should be avoided in their opinion is phosphorus. Now, this is extremely dumb because while it's true that bitter melon has some phosphorus in it, it's just 45 milligrams of phosphorus per cup, which is a very tiny amount, almost insignificant since it's coming from a plant. I mean, that's just as dumb as telling you to avoid apples because they have cyanide in them. Yeah, this is a very, very misleading advice. But why is bitter melon worthy of disregarding the advice of the NKF, you ask? And I'm glad you asked because bitter melon is amazing. This gourd is a natural treatment for diabetes. This veggie blurs the lines between normal foods and actual natural medicine. Look at this. In this study, diabetes patients who were eating bitter melon daily not just had a significant decrease in body weight and in HbA1c levels, they also protected their kidney function. In fact, their creatinine didn't increase during the study, while that of diabetes patients who weren't eating bitter melon did. Yes, eating this one before meals can make a serious difference with diabetes and kidney disease, and it proves once again that you need to get informed and not just trust authorities randomly banning all sorts of foods and supplements. Okay, up next, our number 2. This is something that's not as healthy as bitter melon, but that for sure beats any other foods in terms of how shocked patients are when I tell them they could have it. Number 2 is alcohol. I was counseling for a patient the other day, and at some point, she went silent. It was like she had a sin to confess and wasn't able to find the strength to do so. What's wrong? I asked. And finally, she told me, Catherine, I still drink some wine a couple of times a month when I go out for dinner. And I was like, okay, that's fine. And I moved on. Wait, she asked, am I allowed to drink wine? Yes, as long as you drink it in moderation. I don't have a problem with it. And guys, you see, there's a good reason for me saying that alcohol, as long as you drink it in moderation, doesn't really impact the kidneys. It's your liver that's going to clear it out, not your kidneys. Of course, this also implies that these patients' liver enzymes were alright. And yeah, I double check that before giving this recommendation. If you have any reason to think your liver is not working at 100%, alcohol is not good for you. Same goes for people with a fluid intake restriction. But hey, if you don't have any of these issues and you can keep the alcohol consumption under control, a couple of glasses of wine a week are not the issue. And trust me when I say that the less restriction you have in the diet, the better on the long term. Okay guys, let's talk about the food that for some, knowing that it's not banned will be even more shocking than alcohol. Number 1 is honey. This is probably one of the very few sweeteners that comes with health benefits, especially if you can find raw honey. You can expect it to have mild anti-inflammatory and antioxidant properties. Additionally, some studies say that if you buy local honey, it might even help with seasonal allergies. Now, these are not super great benefits, but they are not even the reason why I have recommended honey to some of my patients. In fact, what's special about honey is that it's just pure carbs, zero protein in it. This can be very useful for those patients that are underweight. Alright, you add some honey to your smoothies or to your morning tea and boom, you get some extra calories with zero added protein. Now, of course, I do not recommend honey to patients with diabetes. Honey is really caloric dense, which means it is going to have a very high glycemic load as well. What's even worse for people with diabetes is that using it in place of table sugar won't lower cravings for sweet foods. So even if it has health benefits, it's still banned for those with diabetes. But of course, not everyone has diabetes and honey can be very helpful for some patients. And if you want more tips on the right food for the renal diet, my video up here is for you. Thank you for watching. God bless you all. Ciao, ciao.